Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. On this post, I've got a story from wedding planning with an update and one from malicious compliance. So if you want to go ahead and get started with the stories, just use the timestamps below the video. I'd also like to give a big shout out to all my supporters and the new members that have been coming in. It makes a huge difference and it really means a lot to me, so thank you very much. Now, let's get started with the stories. This post is from the subreddit Wedding Planning and it's by user Throwaway Arauza. My heart is breaking. My mom just told me her and my dad won't come to the wedding. I am devastated and looking for advice. I am a Muslim American bride marrying my future husband who was raised Catholic. Many Muslim families in the West hold their traditions close and are culturally conservative, expecting their kids to marry other Muslims. How Catholics were supposed to only marry Catholics in the US 70 years ago or risk being ostracized by their community. Future husband and I have been engaged for almost a year, which my parents have known. Pre-COVID, future husband would visit my parents with me about once a month, and things were pleasant on these visits. However, my parents' refrain, and especially my mom's, was that he's nice and all, but he needs to convert. It's taken us a long time just for future husband to comfortably visit, so I thought it was another wall we could pull down. Well, I was wrong. I told my parents yesterday about our new wedding plans. We were originally going to get married in a small museum in the winter this year with over 100 people. I didn't ask my parents to chip in. Obviously, due to COVID, that can't happen right now. We since decided to get married in October in my future mother-in-law's backyard. It would be only family, 10 people total. I told my parents about the new date, and my dad stayed quiet while my mom again told me future husband had to convert. I made it clear I like future husband the way he is. It was a messy conversation, but I eventually asked directly if they would come. And my mom said no, she didn't see how they could. That just because it's a civil marriage, it's not actually a valid marriage in the eyes of God. And that if we have kids, they would be illegitimate. I asked if she seriously wouldn't want to meet her grandkids, and my mom said that's not the point. I started crying and said, I can't believe you would hold your convictions in higher regard than your own daughter. And my mom said that's not what she was doing at all. It's just that Christians marry Christians and Muslims marry Muslims. I told them that if they really didn't come, it would cause irreparable damage. I'm currently on vacation from work and staying at my parents' house since I haven't seen them in 4 months. They live near me, but my dad is high risk, so I haven't visited except to sometimes drop off groceries on the porch. I'm taking today to be sad. But what now? I will marry future husband no matter what. I've already talked about this exchange with future husband and future mother-in-law. They're obviously also upset. I just don't see how we can move past this with my parents if they really don't come. I don't want to be estranged from them, but that's what they're ensuring. My older sister thinks my mom is bluffing, but understands why I am so hurt and has always supported me. Basically, what do I do? How do I make it clear that this is not okay and it's not just another thing we can sweep under the rug? Oi, OP, first of all, I am so sorry that you have to go through this with your parents and that it's putting a damp or a dark cloud over the whole wedding that you guys are planning. Which is supposed to be a joyous occasion that brings family together. But in this case, the religion part of it, or ideology for other situations similar to this, is actually taking you guys apart. It's very difficult for me to try to put myself in your mom's shoes because I'm not that much of a religious person. And I know I would never put my faith or my beliefs or my ideology before my daughter or my son. So even though it is a sad reality, it is as you say. They are ensuring that you guys become estranged if they keep trying to force this on you guys. My only question to your mom would be, is she trying to force this because of her own personal beliefs? Or is she trying to do this because of the optics and, the extended family and what they might think and all that stuff? Because in these cases, that is a huge driver as well. What do you guys think? What would you suggest OP should do? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Snow Fairy says, "It may sound harsh, but I think you should hold strong to your convictions. This is your marriage and your life. I was raised to follow a non-conventional theism, but one of the things I believe wholeheartedly is that your love for your faith should never be stronger than your love for your fellow human. If she will put her faith above her daughter, then she will also put her faith above her grandchildren. Even if she concedes to come to the wedding, you'll always need to be cautious that she follows what you want for your children rather than her ideal for them." Lisa W481 says, "I'm so sorry that you're going through this. In my opinion, I think you just have to take a step back and wait. It's their own decision if they're not going to accept your marriage or come to your wedding. Try to focus on the positives and try to be patient." Wine Out of Nowhere says, "I'm Jewish, marrying an immigrant Muslim man. So no, Muslims don't marry Muslims. My parents are intermarried. In my own community, even as intermarriage is the norm, it is still this subject of constant ire and debate. I would recommend trying to find interfaith resources, if you haven't already, that can help you navigate difficult topics and offer support. I wish I had some resources from a Muslim perspective I could forward on to you. As for your parents, be upset. Let them nurse whatever wounds they have imagining a purely Muslim family. Let them sit with the fact that yes, it really is happening and he is not converting. They may reason themselves into it. Find out what their fear is. It sounds like they are somewhat open since they knew about him in the first place, so their surface level explanation doesn't really hold water here. Have you had much in the way of interfaith dialogue between your future husband and parents? For religiously observant people, change and acceptance often has to occur with respect to religious tradition or some precedent. I hope your parents can find some acceptance of your future husband's faith and tradition and your relationship doesn't have to suffer." Well, the community is definitely rooting for OP to keep going forward with their marriage and see if her parents will eventually come around, but that isn't something she should super worry about. This last commenter did offer some advice regarding interfaith material that maybe could help her make some points or put some points across to her mother that might help her change her mind or come around to the idea of accepting everybody for who they are. In any case, we do have an update, so let's continue with that to find out what happened in the end. Yo, do I have an update for you? A couple of months ago, I posted about my parents telling me they wouldn't come to my wedding because future husband wouldn't convert to their religion. Thank you for those who replied. I found the encouragement and support so lovely and necessary. Well, 1 week after that awful conversation, future husband got into a chainsaw accident. He cut his thigh above his knee. Miraculously, he didn't hit a tendon or artery or bone, so he just needed a lot of stitches. He couldn't walk well for 2 weeks, but after that, he didn't even need physical therapy. Thank God future husband's neighbors heard him yelling when he got injured. They were able to administer a tourniquet while waiting for the paramedics. Because it's COVID times, only one person could go to the ER with him, and his mom went with him. Future husband's mom lives an hour away, and that's where future husband was chainsawing. When I told my parents what was going on, they were horrified. I said I needed to get down there, and my parents said, "Of course, but we're driving you." So after future husband got out of the hospital, several hours later, we got him and his mom dinner and drove down to check on them. And my parents and his mom really got along. When my mom first heard the news about future husband, she cried. This all led to a series of conversations between my parents, future husband, future mother-in-law, and myself. And my parents finally listened. In the end, a compromise was made. My future husband decided he will culturally say the Shahada. It's a sentence you say to become a Muslim, but with the intention of it only being cultural. My parents understand that it's just for them and that he doesn't consider himself Muslim. It's really so that when we visit family in Egypt, it's not scandalous, which again, future husband is okay with. What makes it a compromise is this: my parents are finally acknowledging that future husband is who he is and is not really a Muslim, that it's to honor them and their traditions. So the moral of the story is, people's minds change when a terrifying, possibly life-threatening accident happens. In any event, I'm so glad that the past 3 months are over, and I'm so incredibly happy and excited to be marrying my best friend this Saturday. My parents will be coming and they'll be bringing the food. Well, OP, even though your by now husband went through that accident and it must have been horrible and painful, I'm gonna count this as a happy ending to the story. A compromise was made, and that is great. Nobody's views or opinions were forced upon anybody, and again, the compromise happened, which I think is a great way to resolve conflict within relationships. So good for you, good for your parents, good for everybody in this story. It's really cool to see things move forward in a positive way. So all the best to you and your husband, OP, and take care. And now, we move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Visit Magrathia. A customer wanted her ice cream crunchy, so I made it crunchy. Briefly, during the pandemic, I worked as a manager at a Ralph's, a New York City area ice cream chain. And one night, as I'm helping out scooping, I hear a customer getting annoyed at the window and starting to get snippy with one of the young kids who was working the window. So I head over to smooth the situation as a manager. The woman is mad because the hot fudge on her hot fudge sundae is hot and going to melt the ice cream. I explain to her that the hot fudge is indeed served hot, but she insists. So I make her a new sundae with magic shell topping instead and let her keep the hot fudge one. By the time I return with that, this customer is stirring her spoon through another cup of ice cream, kind of like a sherbet, she ordered, obviously about to complain about it. The flavor she ordered was called Graham Crunch, and she proceeded to tell me that there wasn't any Graham Crunch in it. That she orders this flavor all the time and she knows that I am intentionally stiffing her. I tell her that this is just how the flavor is and I don't name or make the ice cream, but she isn't having it. She wants me to fix it. We've got some crushed graham cracker topping in the back, so as she is berating me, I just walk away from her and grab the entire container and come back to the window with it. At this point, we've got a line of people down the block because this lady has held us up. So there are lots of witnesses to what I was about to do. Without breaking eye contact with her, as she continues to tell me that I'm wrong about the ice cream I scoop 6 days a week, I open the lid of the container and empty the entire thing over her cup of the offending ice cream. Graham crackers are everywhere. Her ice cream is now definitely crunchy. She loses her mind at this and starts yelling at me that she knows the owner and will get me fired. I tell her, yeah, Steve is a nice guy. And she responds with, I've known Steve a long time. To which I respond, well, his name is John. Get out of here and don't bother my employees for free ice cream again. Now, sufficiently embarrassed in front of the long line of customers, the lady leaves in a huff and indeed never returns. The next few customers left us $20 tips in the jar to make up for her. So the kids who worked for me left with quite a bit more in their pockets than they normally would and realized that their manager had their back. Well, good job, OP. You showed Ice Cream Karen how the cookie crumbles. Pause for comedic effect. And like you say, the kids that work for you know that you've got your back, and that's leadership. So it's a great thing that you stood up to help them out. That's your job and you did it right. Because it is true that the customer isn't always right, and this is one of those cases. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.